Hey, this is January 23rd, advanced class. Make sure you're watching the right one because my regular class is doing different stuff up there. So if you're doing this one, it may be a wee bit confusing to you, so make sure you flip to the correct one. Then from here, what we have up behind me from there is, information for you, what we have. Let's see, first book report checkpoints tomorrow. We're going to talk about that in a moment to help you out. Finish the Fable. If you've not done Fable Speech, that'll be coming up on Monday. If you've not done Secret Word Speech, that'll be on Monday. If you have questions over Honor Society, we're going to be answering those in just a moment, quite a bit of it. There is a current ban on drawing on your desk until February 1st because kids making poor choices. The joy of dealing with humans. And then the first bell work that goes into this notebook, which is why it's number 1, is going to be called Greek to Me, which is... There we go. It looks like this. And so the way this one's going to work is you're going to create 4 columns. One that says gods, one that says places, one that says things, and one that says other stuff. And columns are up and downing things. And you're going to pick which column you think each one of these goes into. Is a satyr going to be a god, a place, a thing, or other stuff? Is a scythe a god, a place, a thing, or other stuff? And you're going to place them to what the correct spot you think it is. They are not all going to be equal. Some are going to have more than others. And then once you're done with that, the bottom part, you're going to write a story using 10 of those words. And you're going to try and tell a story as accurately as you can, or just be creative and make things up from there. Next up, Honor Society. Well, those of you not caring about Honor Society or got invite and choosing not to do it, you get to work on Bellworky thing behind me. Those of you at home, it's the same thing. If you are wanting to just fast forward, that's fine with me, and it'll be good to go from there. Those of you here, I will answer questions in a moment. Here's what I can pass along to you. You are going to need to change your due date. For heroes, our due date is that Monday, not the Wednesday that is listed on there. It is due 2 days prior to that. The reason being, not to be mean to you, it is quite the opposite of that. It is a thing I started doing years ago because I had a girl in one of my classes who I really liked, who was a good kid, and she was working really hard on her application, and she took it home the night before it was due so that she could put finishing touches on it. The next morning, there was an issue at the house. She had to leave quickly to get on the bus, left application sitting on kitchen table. There was no one at home who could bring it to her. We have a 3 p.m. hard deadline. If it is not in our hand by 3 o'clock, you cannot turn it in. She was not able to turn hers in. She did not make Honor Society that year, and we had a lot of tears and a very upset person. So I swore from that point forward I was never going to have that happen to a kid I liked again. So to avoid that, I make you turn it in before that. Can you ignore me and turn it in on Wednesday? Absolutely. Will it impact your chances of getting in? Absolutely. Because I will then be voting against you. Does my vote against you guarantee you don't get in? No. I am one of several people. Do I carry a lot of weight? Yes. Look at me. I'm adorable. So keep that in mind as you are making your choices from there. Also, if your parents contact me with questions, I will not be answering them. It is up to you to answer all questions. I've already had parents contacting me. I just delete their emails. Any questions about National Junior Honor Society have to come through you. If your parents have to contact me, it does not speak well for you. I'm not holding it against you now. If your parents already contacted me, you did not know this. But moving forward, go talk to the big people and go, email Angry Man. If they try to, smack it out of their hands. Because once they email me, that means that you can't take care of your own business and they have to do it for you, which does not speak strongly towards your responsibility. So if you have questions, or parents have questions, and parents probably will because parents, you come talk to me and I'll be more than happy to answer them. Or send me a message. I will be emailing your parents. I'm going to send them a message saying, hey, your child has gotten an invitation to this. If you have any questions, they're going to be able to answer it. The other big thing I'm going to tell them is, do not push your child to do the National Junior Honor Society. Because if you do, it will be a failure. Every year we have a parent who makes their kid do it, and they get kicked out within the first 6 months. Because if your heart is not in it, you are not going to do the requirements, and we will remove you. We remove kids every few weeks as you're not doing the things that you're supposed to. And if your parents make you do it, you're going to write all these essays, you're going to spend 2 weeks fighting them and having all of these tears, and then just get kicked out shortly after. So I'm going to put that in the email. Don't force your kid to do it. It's not worth it. Their heart has to be in it. So I'm going to try and get your back if it's not a thing you want to do. Starting Monday of next week, I'm going to be asking you, Do you want to do National Junior Honor Society? If you say yes, I put a little check mark next to your name. The drawback is I'm harassing you every single day, going, why have you not turned in your application? Why are you a slacker? What's taking you so long? How far into it are you? And I'm going to harass you every day until you get it turned in. If you say no, I cross you off and I don't bother you again. So the idea is those of you who want to do it, I get to harass you until it's turned in. If you want me to check your application ahead of time, absolutely fine. Bring it in. I'll take a look at it. I'll say, fix this. This is good. Stuff like that. I'm here to help you. That is why I am your guidance person. Oh, when you write your essays, because the three main parts, background information, which just tells us more about you, should be easy. Recommendations from the big people, in theory, should be easy. And then the essays you have to write. We're going to be reading like 150 sets of essays from kids. Every kid is smart who turned it in. We only handed it out to smart kids. So if you start yours with, I got this because I'm smart, you're not going to make it. Because we know you're smart. That's not what we're looking for. Smart was already step one. We want to know what makes you different. I want to see creativity. I want to see something that makes you interest. What makes you a special little boo? Figure out your special boo-ness and put it in there, whatever that thing might be. And brag about yourself. You're here because we want to know more about you. Talk about the fact that you save babies from falling buildings, or the fact that you're great at drawing, or the fact that you go out of your way to pat old ladies on the back, or you've never done a thing in your life, and you've wasted your life up to this point, and we have awakened you to the fact that there are good things in this world and you want to become a part of it. Whatever it is, just try not to fade into the background of every other kid, Globetrotter, star, who writes, I'm a smart kid, let me in. I want them, when they get to the heroes ones, you guys to do something a bit apart and better than all those other ones. If you choose not to do it, that is absolutely fine. It does not stop you from getting into the high school one. It does stop you from reapplying later. If you say no now, you cannot come back in 8th grade and say, I want to do it now. We will not accept you. Once you've turned us down, it is a permanent junior high thing. You can change your mind for high school. High School Honor Society is completely different. High School Honor Society is not about making you a leader. It is simply about getting your name on a thing to turn into college. When you get, for us, you have to do 50 hours to make the world a better place. When you get to the high school, you do 4 hours over the entire course of your entire time you're in high school. And all they care about is that you have good grades. That is literally all it is. And then you put it on your college application and say, I'm in the Honor Society, which means 2 things. You have good grades, you didn't get in trouble. And that's it. If you want to become a leader, you go through ours. What we do, the best way I can try to make the connection, we are the equivalent of going through like a travel sports program. Do you have to do travel sports to make a high school team? No. If you do travel sports, will it help you make the team because you learn all those important things and the teachers will look at you better? Absolutely. If you go through our program, we teach you how to become a leader. If you graduate from us, we're going to show you how to become that excellent, outstanding person who does not buckle to peer pressure and becomes that person that changes the world. That's it. It is not going to college application. It is not doing anything besides make you a better person. I and 3 other teachers started this 15 years ago because we wanted to make the world a better place. And we figured the best way to do it was we were going to start making kids better by creating this program. We did not start the National Junior Honor Society. That's been around for before I was born, since dinosaur times. We created the chapter here and went out and found a program that we could use to make kids better people. That's what we're looking for. Now questions. Snow.
So if you get accepted into it, if you serve in like toddlers in a church or something, would that count as your hours?
What we look for as far as the hours go, that you don't get paid and you make the world a better place and it's not benefiting your family. As long as it fits those 3 things, you should be fine. Casper.
Do you have to do this in here to be able to do it in high school?
No, they're not connected at all. You're absolutely welcome because they're 2 separate programs. The one for the high school is just about putting it on a college application. It is not about making you a better person. Ours is not about college. Ours is about making you a better leader. They just happen to have the same words in the title, but that's about the only connection. Yes?
Okay, so are there like things that you would have to stay after school for, like a lot?
Oh, no, we have usually, the way it'll work is we have a meeting during BEST, usually once a month. I think sometimes they have meetings in the morning that's mostly for officers. It'll usually be an optional meeting in like the mornings or afternoons, something like that. And then you have to be able to do the volunteer things. Like at some point you're going to have to help a teacher during BEST. Like a lot of times if you have 8th graders who come back and help during BEST, those are the kids who are Honor Society. And that's the thing that you do. Or kids who clean up the cafeteria after lunch. Or you stay and like sell concessions at the games. So you have to be able to stay after and do a thing at some point, but that's the only real requirement time-wise. Yes, Hebert.
To work at the library, is that National Junior College?
Do you get paid for it? Then you make the world a better place? Does your family get money for it? Then you're good to go. Yep.
So, come back to
Done. Blizz.
Oh, okay.
I had no one else to call on.
Wait. So for high school, I remember
Okay.
So for high school, 40 hours or 4 hours? 4 hours?
If it makes you feel like it's a joke, that's because it's a joke. As in, like, the high school version's a joke, not like I'm joking with you. Yeah, my high school kids come back all the time and they complain. They're like, your guys' junior high one, like, we actually did stuff and, like, I became a better person. The high school one's kind of ridiculous. And I'm like, yeah, that's because I don't get to control that one. So, I mean, you know, my own horn and stuff. Yeah.
So for the volunteer hours, can we like go to like a humane society or like a farm sanctuary?
Absolutely. Yeah.
How do we know if like past teachers send you recommendations?
What'll happen is you can either talk to them and ask, or eventually you can ask us, and we'll tell you how many recommendations are in and from who. Because Mr. Henderson will be the one that's in control of all that. And so what'll happen is when we get to that due date, like that Monday, Wednesday, I'll find out which kids are still missing recommendation letters, and I'll tell you. I'll say, hey, all of yours are in, or Akila, I only have one from Mr. Joe. And so that way you can, I'll let you know as we get closer to it if you're still missing them. And that does not count against you as long as you've sent them out. Because you can't always rely on other people because sometimes humans are awful. Grop.
I have an early dismissal thing and I was supposed to go like 10 minutes ago.
That's embarrassing. Take off. Just make sure you watch the video later. Yes.
But like the recommendation letters, does it have to be like on paper?
Nope.
Or, okay, it can be electronic.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, we print them off, but that's fine. They can email it to us. I have no problem with that. My last one, Blizz, and we get to move on.
So, do you have to have a teacher send in a recommendation letter? You could have somebody outside of that.
It just has to be an adulty person of some kind. Yay! I'm going to come back to the screen. For those of you who are not finished with it, it will reappear, but probably not for a little bit. I've got more talky things to do. First off, book report. Let me talk about that to try and help you out. So, I'm going to show you pictures in a moment to try and help you. But what I'm looking for tomorrow with Checkpoint, you guys have 2 squares due. That can be 2 pictures if you want, or it can be 2 paragraphs. I'm happy either way. Or it can be 1 picture, 1 paragraph. If you do picture, your picture has to cover the entire square. If you just draw a picture of a car in the middle and that's it, that's not filling the square. I need to know what's going on. So fill the square with picture of some kind. If you're doing paragraph, your paragraph, it has to be 5 or more sentences. Should be 5 or more good sentences, unless you're just aiming for a D and you're like, good enough. If your 5 sentences are, there was a dog, dog was angry, dog chased Bob, Bob hated dog, die, dog, die. Yes, that's 5 sentences. It's also horrible and probably only going to get you a D minus. So I'm looking for the 5. And I'll tell you when you come up, like, hey, these are good, or hey, if you do more like this, you're probably not going to pass. So I'll tell you when you show it to me, whether it's quality or not quality, to try and help you out. If you type it, it does not have to, yeah? Yeah, I figured you were going to want to, dear. I'm more than well prepared for it. So if you need to type it, you can leave it on iPad, and that is absolutely fine with me. You do not have to print it until the final project is due. Just make sure you can show it to me tomorrow, and then you'll be good on that one. With your paragraphs, and I'll tell you this when you bring them up to me, don't start them all the same way. You know, in this scene, there's a dog running around. In the next one, in this scene, Bob kicks the dog. In the next one, in this scene, the dog eats it. So that's horrible writing if you're starting every single one the same way. And I'll tell you that. You need to change this. This is bad writing. And then also write your name on the film strips, because if you lose them, you're going to have to redo them. And every year I have that one kid who gets like halfway through the project and then loses all their film strips and has to start all over again. I'm going to show you a way tomorrow to avoid that. But the first step is writing name on it. That'll be the easiest. Then, example ones. So as far as pictures go, so you have an idea of what I'm looking for. If all you're looking for is to pass and get like a C or a D, then what I'm looking for is just, you can just go online, find a random picture off Google, and use that and go, hey, this kind of represents what I'm looking for. That'll get you a C or a D. If you're drawing your picture and you give me something like this, that's a C or a D. It fills the entire square, but it tells me nothing. Are those two people underwater and drowning? Are they floating out in space? Did they find a way to crawl inside of a blueberry? So I don't know what's going on in this picture. I need to have details. Down here, this person is not an expert artist on any level, but they put details into it. They give me my background windows, I see my floor, there's a door going on there, that's like a cabinet or a washing machine or something. So they're giving me stuff in the picture so I know what's going on. This, not great art, but I will absolutely give that an A because they're giving me effort. Over here, if you want to do it digitally, I'm fine with that too. But you have to build it by putting stuff into it so I can show that there's effort applied. We found like your subway car, and then you found like other people to put into it, and you're putting word bubbles. And so you're doing some kind of efforty thing. That's A-B work. That's, you're passing, and you did a thing. Check mark. Happy!
So I read more of my book.
Yes?
And I still don't understand it because it's just talking about like this guy, and he's just jumping around and stuff, and I don't understand anything, and even when I look online, it doesn't, like, nothing comes up, and I don't understand it.
Change books?
I can't.
You can, it just costs points.
Yeah, it costs points, and the first thing's tomorrow.
True. But that gives you tonight to, if you find a book that you like better, you can switch to it, and then all you have to do is get the two things done, type up the 2 paragraphs explaining a little bit of it. And so I agree. Or you can try and, I don't know what answer you want me to give you. Don't do the project at all, and you'll get a good grade.
Okay.
Okay. I figured that was the answer you wanted, so I just go ahead and say it. But the books that you had to choose are confusing. I straight up understand that. This book list thing is not my choice. It's one of those things where I go to those Monday meetings, this gets handed down to me. It is the advanced kids have to be prepared for reading these books when they get to 8th grade to get prepared for high school. So in order to do that, I get told they have to choose from this particular list. Yeah, the books that are on there are tough and challenging. It's one of those advanced kid things. And so it's one of those, I tried to be as accepting as I could of options on there, but yeah, it's just the drawback to being considered a smarty kid, that you're going to read the books that are tougher. There's no easy way around it. Except like head trauma. That can make things easier. Casper.
Okay, so like, if my book's just basically this guy talking.
For the least beginning of it, yeah, so they get out there.
And then like, all of a sudden they talk about this guy with one leg.
Yeah.
I have to draw a guy thinking about like.
That's
Guy
fine.
with one leg.
I imagine there's every chance you're going to have to be creative on these, and I am fine with that. Especially with the, what do you call the boring beginning stuff?
Exposition.
Yeah, a long time ago with these books, they thought they got paid extra for exposition. So like they put a lot of exposition in there. Yeah, I know, it's a struggle. That's why these aren't the books I would choose for you to have to read. But once again, I didn't get the choice. So yeah, there's a good chance your first square or two is going to be, this is the boring part where this guy's just thinking about doing a thing. Or it's just babbling and it's confusing. I understand that. You can make a square about that. I'm fine with that. Your first boring one might just be like 2 guys talking. And you just have a picture of this guy talking and this guy talking, and like they're sitting on a boat, and you just put like things in the background, and you just go, at the very beginning of the book, they're just babbling about, and you just give me like this background stuff. I'm fine with that. It does not have to be an action scene at all. So I'm willing to work with you. That is the concession I'm happy to do. Oops.
So like, in the beginning of my book, like everybody's getting letters. So like, how would I do that with like
A person just like standing there holding a letter, and like people celebrating around them or something, or just like a cut in 4, and you have like 4 different people getting letters and getting excited, or however you want to do it that makes you happier than that. Grace.
Okay, so can I show you it like on my
Blizz.
So if you realize you like can't draw a person, can you like switch off between just
Yep, absolutely.
drawing?
And I have kids that all the time. They'll go back and forth between a drawing one and like a computery one. And then, yeah, I have no problem with that whatsoever. As long as you follow all the directions, disco. Yeah.
Can I get like some artificial colored pencils?
Like right this moment? No, we're going to keep going with more learning. But you can give me a grumpy face. That's something just good. I see it. It looks good.
I don't own any colored pencils.
See me at the end of class. You can take some home.
Wait,
I have no problem with that. Yeah.
do we have to draw like? Do we draw stick figures or like figures?
As long as you put clothing on them.
Okay.
That's a stick figure with clothing.
Oh.
Yeah. They just started with a stick figure and then drew the clothing on them and then colored in the clothing and went, yay.
I can't be naked.
Okay.
What if
Akila.
they need shoes? Because you seem actually last time for not doing shoes on that.
I'd say probably. I mean, just they don't have very good shoes. It's up to you. I would recommend shoes or grumbly. Wait, for shoes, it's literally an oval that you color in.
Maybe the people in the book aren't as looking at us.
And Spencer.
So in the beginning of the book, so it's like a kid in bed.
Yeah.
So it'd be a bit weird if he had shoes on.
Then they don't put shoes on the kid in bed. It's when they have a random person on the street they don't put shoes on. That comes across
Plus
as a
their
bit more.
homework.
Your checkpoints come, or not checkpoints, the final project, again, if you are wanting an A, it is 15 pictures, 30 total things. So 30 pictures plus the paragraphs together. And so just, I'll keep reminding you as we go through to try and help you out. If all you want to do is pass and get a D, it's just 9 pictures and then paragraphs to match them. Camp?
The paragraphs have to be printed.
For the final project, yes. Like for the checkpoints, no. When you turn it in February, yes. Okay. Wait, you say pictures have to be printed?
No, the paragraphs.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Then you look confused. I
I
thought you
don't
were-
know.
Then I confuse myself.
What are we doing right now?
Well, right now we're
Do
going.
we actually exist?
Yes.
Is everything
The
alive?
final project?
Yes.
Okay, so it has to be printed.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
So the real paper is the project.
Yes.
It's not like before we do.
No, you're not doing a rough draft. My goal is that you're getting it done. So that way when it comes to February, part of your project is already
So
done.
that's what we turn in.
Yes.
I have nothing.
That's why you don't want to lose it.
But what do you mean you get to print stuff off?
Is that what we have?
Andre.
Wait, so what is your story has naked people, then you draw naked people?
And Grace. Done. Moving on from there, going back to, yeah, now you have to wait. Moving, yes, you have to wait now. I know. Greek mythology, let me cover that so we can get back to the bellworky thing. First off, yes, Greek mythology. That's typically what happens when I go, hey, we're going to do Greek mythology. You guys go, what, Greek mythology? So it's just easier for me to go, yep, we're going to be doing Greek mythology. We're going to be doing it from now all the way through like the end of March, almost until we get to spring break. But the reason it goes so long is that it's a slow start. Like we do it once a week, and eventually go up to twice a week, because we're interspersing it to sort of break up those speech days. And so like we only did it once this week, we're going to do it just once next week, and eventually it goes up like twice a week. So that's why it goes so long, plus there's a lot that goes into it. With this one, I'm well aware that you could have done this in social studies. Actually, out of curiosity, how many of you have had a big, tall person talk to you about Greek mythology in a classroom before? How many of you have never had a big, tall person talk to you about Greek mythology before? It is win-win either way. If you've had experience with this, yay, you have background knowledge. Greek mythology can be confusing, and if you have background knowledge, it can definitely make it a little bit easier because the names get real strange. The drawback to having background knowledge is some of the stories you know are going to be different than the stories I tell, which is fine. There's a name for that called oral tradition. And so you're going to get upset and like, Mr. Brovicast, that's not the way I learned. It's okay. There's different versions of it. If you've never learned Greek mythology, yay, you're in for a treat because Greek mythology is quite the experience. And plus, is quite the experience the way I do it. But of course, I do almost everything differently than other people. The posters you see around the room, they stay up. I don't take them down. I don't cover them. They're going to be up through every quiz, through every homework, through every test. I keep them up there all the way through the very end. Because when I go through and talk about Greek mythology, I'll be pointing to them. When we get to Hermes, the guy that's right over there above Rothschild, I will point to him when I tell the story. Because it makes it easier if you can visualize and see a thing. Then when it comes time for the quiz, and you're like, who's Hermes? You're like, oh, the guy doing the Heisman Trophy post. And you look over and you're like, Heisman? Then that'll help you remember a thing, which then makes the questions come back and the answers make a better connection. So I leave all the posters up. You're going to have questions. The drawback to this is I'm probably not going to call on you every time you raise your hand. Because almost every time you raise your hand, I'll be able to answer it the same way. Which is, we'll get to that. There is a lot that goes into Greek mythology. And I will eventually get to a lot of Greek mythology. But I can't cover it all the first day. So when you raise your hand, don't take it personally when I don't call on you. Because I pretty much know what the answer is going to be. Which is, we'll get to that. You just have to have patience. Also, raising your hand is not going to do you much good because I'm not going to call on you till the end. Because I have a lot of stuff to try and get through. So when you raise your hand, I'm probably just going to ignore you. Don't take it personally. You're more than welcome to write the question down so that you don't forget it. But a lot of times the question you come up just becomes a distraction, not trying to attack you. It's just the things I've learned from doing this since dinosaur times. Mythology. If you are unaware, the word mythology means religion. There is Christian mythology, there's Islamic mythology, there's Jewish mythology, there's Greek mythology. Mythology just means the stories that build into a religion, whatever that religion may be. At one point, this was a religion. That's why they are called gods, because people prayed to them. It was not a religion, it was the religion. It was not, do you believe in Zeus or not? It was, have you seen Zeus or not? Because everyone believed in it. It was not a thing where you have today where people believe in different things. Everyone believed in it during this time period. Do people still believe in it today? No. There is no island, there is no culture where people still believe and worship to these gods. Anyone still believing in these gods today wears a really tight white coat and lives in a really padded room to keep them away from other people.
Then why are we learning about it if it's a religion and it was from a long time ago?
A couple reasons. One, the joy of English is I kind of get to teach whatever I want as long as it does two things. Makes you learn and involves reading. Greek mythology makes you learn and involves reading.
Yay!
It's also, for a lot of my kids, the most interesting unit we do all year. Because if you've never experienced Greek mythology, essentially it's junior high drama with the involvement of baby eating and being allowed to kill the people that you don't like. And so it is as entertaining of a story system as we can possibly do. And it's going to be a whole bunch of short stories that all connect to each other. So it's like doing a short story unit that all involve the same characters and sort of overlap. And for the most part, kids seem to enjoy it. Oh, also, of all the things I do with you guys throughout the year, the one that you're going to remember the longest and use the most in your life is Greek mythology. Way more than grammar or poetry or short story mountain is going to be Greek mythology. And that comes from, again, all my past students who come back and talk to me. This is the stuff that you'll use all the way through college because Greek mythology does not change. It's been around for thousands of years and it impacts our culture more than anything else. The more you know about Greek mythology, the more you're going to understand books you read. Those of you now doing the classic books, there are going to be a lot of references to Greek mythology. The more you understand it, it pops up in there. If you play video games steal a ton from Greek mythology. Whether it's the name of a weapon in the game or a land of a location, you're going to realize that the more you know about Greek mythology, like, I was watching a movie and there's this place. Yeah, it's from Greek mythology. I was playing a game and there was a game. Yeah, it's from Greek mythology. It's from Greek mythology. The more you know about it, the more you're going to understand. Also, you're going to lose a lot of B points because it happens every time. The reason being, for a lot of you, this will be the one time you get interested in school, and when you get interested in the thing, it makes you want to talk. And when you want to talk, it's going to make you interrupt me, which makes it really hard for me to teach. So those of you who have trouble controlling your impulses already, it's going to get a lot worse as we get into this. I will do my best to try and not be overly ogreish to you, but if you distract me a lot while I try to teach, I'm going to be charging you points. Because you're going to be going, Mr. Drawback, what about this thing? And I'm going to have to slow you down so I can try to get to all the learning. So I'm just telling you now, try to control yourself, and I'll try to be nice to you. A lot of this unit is oral and me telling stories. And so there is some reading that goes into it, but Greek mythology comes from a time period when people didn't write stories down because they were illiterate. Most of these stories were told out loud from one person to the next. So I sort of embraced that. So a lot of these stories are me telling the stories out loud to you guys, which is good because it gives you less homework. You get to just pay attention in class and listen to me tell stories. It's bad if you miss class because I don't have a paper version of the story. The only way for you to get that story is to be here and have it paid attention. When I record class, it started because of this unit. And I had kids who got upset whenever they missed a day and missed a story and didn't get to hear that story. They started rioting. So I said, how would I record it and post it? So I started recording. Greek mythology was the very first thing I started recording. And it sort of bled over from there into all of my other units. So it began here, letting kids then be able to listen to them at home. Because if we get to a quiz and you missed a day and you didn't watch that video, you have no chance of being able to answer stuff. Because it all comes from that story I told you on that day. Now back to learning stuff. Open notebook and then we're going to start figuring out where things go. That's why I let you guys pack your stuff up because I knew you were getting ready to unpack it, so I got to torture you, which made things more entertaining for myself. We're going to show you where all the correct things go. If you have it in the wrong spot, that's fine. I expected you to. I don't expect you to erase it and rewrite it. That's a lot of work. All I want you to do is circle it and draw an arrow to where it's supposed to go. No. Unless you're an expert mythist, you probably have a lot of these in the wrong spots. Which means when we get done, yours is going to look like a bunch of octopuses that are all fighting each other. I'm okay with that. So let's figure out the first one and see where you might have put it. Casper, what's up?
I was just asking.
Good stuff. So look at chaos. Decide where you put chaos. You're not yelling out loud, just specials. I'll say each category. You raise your hand when we get to it. So if you say chaos goes in gods, raise hand. Places, things, other stuff. You're in luck because I start with an easy one. Chaos goes in all four. Chaos is a god, a place, a thing, and other stuff. Now, space-wise, I can only put it in two because I had to run out of room, and I'll explain to you why.
Mr. Brovicast, it can't be a place and a god in it.
It can because Greek mythology. Here's how chaos works. Yonder, with little postery thing over here. And those of you who are at home, you don't get to see poster, so sadness. Up here, we have chaos. In Greek mythology, it was the very first thing to exist. The Greeks believed we had the gods, the ones you see here, and then we have the ones that created them, Mother Earth and Father Sky, which were literally the earth and the sky. Zoom, zoom. Those were actual gods you could communicate and have conversations with. Tomorrow we'll talk more about baby eating. Tomorrow we have book report checkpoint due. Xavier!